Good evening and thank you for joining us. A Fort Frances man is dead following an auto-pedestrian collision outside of Thunder Bay early this morning. The fatal accident occurred just after 5 o'clock on Highway 1117, just west of the city limits. Thunder Bay OPP say a man was walking along the highway in the dark when he was struck by this transport truck. The victim was pronounced dead at the scene. OPP have now identified him as 39-year-old Joel Walton. The highway was shut down for about 6 hours. We spoke with OPP Constable Diana Cole at the scene during that highway shutdown.
A vehicle was westbound on Highway 1117 near Fraser Road when the vehicle driver collided with a pedestrian. At this time, right now we have our forensic identification services on site, as well as our technical collision investigators. And as well, part of the investigation, we're using our unmanned aerial vehicle, and we have Highway Safety Division officers on scene as well.
The investigation is continuing, and there is no word yet whether any charges will be laid. A third suspect has now been taken into custody in connection with a shooting incident at a D Street home earlier this month. Police were called to the residence on October 8th and found a man who was suffering from a gunshot wound inside. He was taken to a hospital for treatment. Now, as a result of their investigation, police took 48-year-old Emma Papasay of Thunder Bay into custody on October 14th. Toronto police were able to apprehend a second suspect, a 17-year-old male, the following day. Both have been charged with attempted murder. Now, Toronto police have arrested another male suspect, 21-year-old Devonte Edward Lorenzo Kelsey Como. He made a video appearance in a Thunder Bay court this morning and has also been charged with attempted murder and several other offenses. 2 Toronto area men and a Thunder Bay woman are facing trafficking charges following the latest drug bust by city police. It came after officers were dispatched to a disturbance call at a Pacific Avenue residence Sunday night. As police were knocking on the door of the home, they observed a clear plastic bag being thrown from an upper floor window. That bag contained what's believed to be cocaine, valued at about $10,000. As well, $8,000 in cash was found inside the residence. All 3 suspects have been remanded in custody, and police say further charges are possible. Meanwhile, the issue of guns and gangs in Thunder Bay was raised at Queen's Park this afternoon. MPP Michael Gravel says gang members from Southern Ontario are infiltrating Thunder Bay and leading to more violent crimes here. He also pointed to that $65 million that was given to the province for combating guns and gangs by the federal Liberals earlier this year.
Those of us in the North were shocked that none of that financial assistance came our way. We continue to be ranked by Statistics Canada as second in the country for violent crimes. We had, in fact, over 1,600 in 2017, and we are ranked first in homicides. The time has clearly come for the province to financially support the Thunder Bay Police Service so that they can effectively deal with guns, gangs, drugs, and human trafficking issues in our community. Thank you, Speaker.
Gravel's address was simply a member's statement and therefore did not receive any response from the Ford government. The City of Thunder Bay is asking residents to help decide the future of Victoriaville Mall. A consulting firm has hosted a set of drop-in sessions to help identify opportunities to make downtown Fort William more attractive. Now, some of the options presented include redeveloping the mall or demolishing it to establish new amenities in the neighborhood. Carmen Wong has more.
Built in 1979 to help revitalize downtown Fort William, Victoriaville Centre is now in need more than ever before a revitalization of its own. And the city is encouraging residents to reimagine options for the space. It's looking for recommendations that could be achievable in the short to medium term, be cost effective, and result in positive economic and social impact. Victoriaville tenant Kathy Skirba says this place feels like home.
I'm getting tired of this process. I just want a decision made. The building is built. Lots of people disagree that it was built in the first place, but it's here. Let's try and make the best of it. Let's make it work.
Victoriaville has been running with an $11 million deficit since it was built 40 years ago. And with the roof now in desperate need of repair, Victoriaville is looking for a solution.
It does need to be rethought. And because the facility is, 40 years old now, there's some investments that need to be made. So a decision, we have to talk about it. How we need to spend some money. What's the best way to spend that money on this facility?
In June of 2016, the city held a similar public information session to discuss the future of the center. Roughly 1,300 people responded, with 9 out of 10 saying it does not improve the downtown South core and does not provide sufficient public benefit relative to its operating deficit. They also expressed the belief it would make sense to demolish the mall and reopen Victoria Avenue, assuming a cost savings payback. Ultimately, the goal of this year's new study is to come up with a secondary plan that reflects a vision that people have for downtown Fort William.
It takes time and effort and commitment on the part of the community and business leaders and your politicians to achieve a vision.
An online questionnaire is available on the city's website for the next 2 weeks. The final recommendation will be presented in January 2020, with the project set to be completed by March 2020. Carmen Wong, TBT News.
Thunder Bay City Council has awarded the $1.5 million consulting contract for the proposed multi-use indoor sports facility to Stantec Architecture. The company will now work on design and construction documents for the estimated $30 million project at Chapels Park. Stantec's submission graded highest among 7 proposals received by the city, but as Ryan Bonazzo tells us, last night's decision came after a lengthy debate, not about Stantec's bid, but about the feasibility of the entire project.
All in favor? All opposed? That is carried.
It passed easily, 10 in favor, only 2 opposed, awarding the prime consulting contract for the proposed multi-use indoor sports facility to Stantec Architecture. But the vote was preceded by a spirited debate about the project itself, those in favor espousing the many benefits to the community.
Our demographics are shifting, interests are changing. Building this facility is a reaction to that kind of change.
We also have to think about the attraction and retention of young professionals and families in Thunder Bay.
We're in the midst of a drug epidemic, social decay. One of the ways to address those is certainly with upstream investments in social and health infrastructure for families and youth.
The 2 councillors who voted against awarding the contract, Mark Bentz and Rebecca Johnson, did so because of lingering concerns about the cost of the project as a whole and who will pay for it. Bentz is worried federal funding won't come. And without that assurance, he doesn't like committing $1.5 million for design work, which could actually grow to $2.1 million if the city has to dip into contingency money.
This is a commitment to build, right? You're not going to spend $2 million to say, oh, well, we didn't get funding. Sorry. That's what I'm most worried about. And it is the event center all over again.
But Mayor Bill Morrow says that's not a fair comparison, noting the event center was a far more expensive project. Instead, he likens it to the community auditorium. He says political opposition to that proposal back in the 80s robbed the city of future economic benefits.
They ended up having to make a deal to get it through because the opposition was so significant. And so they reduced it from what was anticipated to be 28 or 3,000 seats down to 1,500 or 1,600 to lower the capital cost, so they could get it through, avoid the political opposition, and get it built. And now today you have a beautiful, remarkable facility, and it can't make money.
He cautioned councillors not to repeat that mistake. Meanwhile, Councillor Peng Yu, who still has some concerns but did vote in favor of awarding the contract, said the impassioned debate is healthy at this stage of the project.
Be jerk first, then be gentleman later.
Ryan Bonazzo, TBT News.
City Council also agreed last night, though somewhat reluctantly, to a motion put forward by Councillor Aldo Roberto. Roberto proposed a special meeting be held for councillors to discuss issues relating to community safety, substance abuse, and homelessness. And while it's still not clear who will attend the meeting, whether administration will be present, and if so, what exactly they'll be expected to address. Council eventually agreed that some councillors, or agreed to the meeting. Some councillors, though, questioned Roberto on what he expects to accomplish, noting there are committees that have been working for years to address those extremely complicated issues.
I don't think it's fair to the organizations that are working really hard on this, Councillor Roberto. And it sounds, your comment was as though nothing was really happening by the committees. That's how I took it. And I don't want the committees that are out there thinking
Point to principle. I said that they're working on their thing. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And there's lots of organizations doing good work, as the mayor mentioned. This is by no ways, this is another avenue we're going. We're not stepping on their toes. We're helping them. We're complimenting, hopefully. So I want to make sure that's absolutely clear. There is a point to principle. And
Roberto's motion asked for that meeting to be held on or before November 25th. though administration indicated that may not be enough time to ensure everyone who should be present can attend. A Thunder Bay woman convicted on a child pornography charge and on sexual interference charges is going to jail. 24-year-old Ashley Dawn Raymer was charged by Thunder Bay Police last November following a raid at a Frederica Street residence. She pled guilty to the charges in May. Raymer's been sentenced to 30 months in jail, but was credited for 6 months already served, which was enhanced to 9.5 months, leaving her 20 months left to serve. According to police, the victim was a 10-year-old who was known to Raymer. Well, the funding is in place and construction can now begin on the $1.9 billion Watay power line. Stakeholders put pen to paper at an official announcement late this afternoon. The First Nations majority-owned transmission line will connect 17 Indigenous communities to the provincial power grid by 2023. Watay officials also made public today that Villard, an Alberta-based utility contractor, will build the 1,800-kilometer of transmission line that will run north from Pickle Lake and Pekangicum.
Thunder Bay, we mark the importance of this occasion of having provided official notice to proceed to Vallard as the constructor, the engineering, procurement, and construction company for the Watay-Nikiniyat project.
The project's expected to create more than 750 construction jobs. It will also keep an estimated 6.6 million tons of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere over the next 40 years as the communities move away from diesel power. Some T-Baytel customers on Thunder Bay's north side are expected to have their landlines back working tonight after more than a week without service. Heavy rain last Monday took its toll on a major underground cable in the area around Court and River Streets. According to a T-Baytel spokesperson, the cable was damaged beyond repair and left about 75 customers without phone service. Repair crews were back working on it again today, and T-Baytel says extensive resources have been deployed throughout the past week to deal with the outage. Alternative service was provided to those who rely on their landlines for essential services. The final 15 customers still impacted by the outage were expected to have their service fully restored by the end of today. Students and staff at Confederation College got some eye-opening advice about overcoming trauma and addictions today from a well-known former NHL star. Theo Fleury was a Stanley Cup champion, 1,000-point scorer, and Olympic gold medalist. But now he's a full-time motivational speaker on mental health issues and healing through conversation. Fleury's descent into drug and alcohol addiction began when he was sexually assaulted repeatedly by a coach while playing junior hockey. 10 years ago, he told his life story in a best-selling book called Playing with Fire. He says it's prompted many other victims to come out of hiding and share their stories with him.
You know, people ask me if I spoke openly, publicly about, what happened. And, we're on the road 250 days of the year now and, talking about trauma, mental health, and addiction and how they're all connected and, what's the best way to heal, from those experiences. And, it's been an amazing journey.
About 100 people turned out for the free event, which was put on by the college as part of their Mental Wellness Matters initiative.
Well, it was in double digits, Fiona, but I think most people would take it today. The wind died off. Turned out to be a nice fall day.